Nobody ever tells you when the rules of the game change, do they? You keep playing by the old playbook, doing what used to work. Only to wake up a decade later and realize your money just doesn't stretch as far. Your dreams seem further away. The gap between where you are and where you want to be yawning wider than ever. It's a frustrating realization. Like running on a treadmill that's slowly but surely increasing its incline. Here are some financial habits that masquerade as responsible behavior, but in reality are quietly keeping you stuck in a cycle of financial mediocrity. If you find yourself doing even one of these, you're likely falling behind without even realizing the slow, insidious creep of financial stagnation. Welcome to WealthifyXxx. Let's dive in. Habit number 1, accumulating savings without a clear, defined end goal. Now, let's be clear. Diligently setting aside a portion of your income each month isn't inherently a bad habit. In fact, it's a foundational principle of financial prudence. But if you religiously sock away money month after month, year after year, and it just sits there, stagnant and unproductive, then it transforms from a virtue into a vice. And the simplest way to understand why this is the case? Let's crunch some numbers and confront the cold, hard reality of inflation. Imagine you diligently saved $10,000 in 2015, a tidy sum representing hard work and sacrifice. You tucked it away in a savings account, earning a paltry 0% interest. Lured by the false sense of security that cash provides. Today, thanks to the relentless march of inflation in the US over the past decade, that $10,000 has the buying power of roughly $7,500. Think about that for a moment. Nothing catastrophic happened. You made no glaring financial blunders. It was simply inflation. That silent thief, relentlessly eroding the value of your hard-earned money. That's a staggering 25% loss in purchasing power, all for doing what conventional wisdom dictates is responsible. And this is precisely why saving feels so safe, until it abruptly isn't. Inflation doesn't announce its arrival with a fanfare. It's a slow, almost imperceptible erosion. In the initial 2 or 3 years, you barely register its presence. Prices creep up incrementally, a bit here, a bit there. Your savings account balance remains reassuringly constant, lulling you into a false sense of security. Everything appears to be in order. But somewhere around the 8 to 10-year mark, the cumulative effect becomes impossible to ignore. The number in your account hasn't changed, it stubbornly remains the same. But what that number can actually buy has drastically diminished. Rent feels oppressively heavy. The dream of homeownership feels increasingly unattainable, receding further into the distance. The same lifestyle you've become accustomed to suddenly costs significantly more than you anticipated. The loss is slow, patient, and almost invisible, until it compounds sufficiently to make a tangible difference in your life, leaving you feeling perpetually behind. The core problem isn't saving itself, it's stopping at saving. Because while your money languishes, collecting dust in a low-interest account, assets are actively compounding. Prices relentlessly reprice upward, driven by inflation and increasing demand. Entry points to lucrative investments move further and further out of reach. Saving feels like progress because the numerical value of your account increases, however incrementally. But true wealth isn't simply about the raw number in your bank account. It's about what that number can transform into down the line, the assets it can acquire, the opportunities it can unlock, the financial freedom it can provide. Habit number 2, rigidly avoiding all forms of debt. Now, it's understandable why most people instinctively view debt as a perilous, anxiety-inducing burden. Something to escape from with all possible speed. And, for the most part, they're justified in feeling that way. For the vast majority of the population, burdened by high-interest consumer debt, debt is the very thing that keeps them trapped below the middle class, perpetually struggling to make ends meet. Think about it. Your house is likely bought with debt in the form of a mortgage. Your car is financed with an auto loan, another form of debt. Your smartphone, the ubiquitous symbol of modern life, is probably acquired through a payment plan, effectively debt by another name. And all of these recurring monthly payments act as anchors, weighing you down and restricting your financial flexibility. But, at the same time, consider this: businesses scale and expand using debt. Real estate empires are built on a foundation of strategic borrowing. Governments, at all levels, function almost entirely on debt. And even the seemingly impenetrable fortresses of banks operate on debt, leveraging borrowed funds to generate profits. The entire economic system, in fact, is fundamentally built on borrowed money. It's the lifeblood that fuels growth and innovation. So when you religiously avoid it completely, you're effectively opting out of the leverage, the very tool that the system is designed around, while you're patiently saving and cautiously waiting for the right moment. Those who understand the power of leverage are proactively buying assets earlier, locking in lower prices, accessing lower interest rates, and harnessing the power of inflation to work for them, not against them. And this creates a widening chasm between those who understand and utilize leverage responsibly and those who fear it entirely. Avoiding debt entirely doesn't magically shield you from risk. It simply guarantees that you'll ultimately pay more later, often significantly more, in hard-earned cash. The real rule isn't never use debt, it's never use debt that doesn't produce more value than it costs. Because in a system fundamentally built on leverage, choosing a path of zero debt isn't a neutral decision. It's a conscious decision to play the game without one of the most potent and readily available tools. It's like trying to build a house without a hammer or saw. Habit number 3, playing defense all the time. A serious question to ponder. Do you genuinely believe that winning in life is solely about meticulously avoiding making mistakes? Or could there be something more, some element of proactive risk-taking, that's essential for achieving true success and fulfillment? Here's the core issue: we're inherently wired to protect ourselves from uncomfortable situations, to instinctively avoid anything that might potentially lead to pain or failure. So, we're naturally more inclined to steer clear of actions that carry even a whiff of potential risk or embarrassment. The problem is, if you overthink it, if you analyze every possible outcome and potential pitfall, everything will eventually start to look like a potential mistake waiting to happen. Moving to a new city, a leap of faith into the unknown, might be a mistake. Changing careers, abandoning a stable path for an uncertain future, might be a mistake. Devoting countless hours of your free time to a passion project, a side hustle with no guaranteed payoff, could lead to nowhere. Even the simple act of asking someone out on a date carries the risk of rejection, the potential for embarrassment. But, in the wise words of the late, great Anthony Bourdain, you have to risk a few bad meals to find the really good ones. Playing purely defensive doesn't inflict immediate, noticeable harm. And that's precisely why this habit is so insidious and widespread. You remain blissfully unaware of what you're missing out on, the opportunities you're forfeiting, by never venturing outside your comfort zone and embracing calculated risks. Defense is essential for protecting what you already possess, preserving your current status quo. But offense is the driving force behind creating what you don't yet have, expanding your horizons, and unlocking your full potential. Costs scale, whether you actively choose them to or not. Housing prices relentlessly rise. Healthcare expenses continue their upward trajectory. The cost of education, a cornerstone of upward mobility, skyrockets year after year. And time itself, that most precious and finite resource, becomes increasingly expensive as opportunities dwindle and options narrow. If your sole strategy is to defend, to hunker down and protect what you have, eventually reality will outpace you. The relentless forces of inflation, increasing costs, and missed opportunities will erode your position, leaving you struggling to keep up. And that's when people lament, "I don't understand. I've been careful my whole life. I've played by the rules. How did this happen?" They're likely telling the truth, genuinely believing they've done everything right. But being merely careful doesn't compound. Rigid budgets don't, in and of themselves, build wealth. They primarily buy time, time to learn, time to strategically position yourself, time to thoughtfully deploy your resources. But if defense becomes the end goal, instead of simply a bridge to something greater, you risk becoming permanently stalled, stuck in a state of perpetual stagnation. The people who genuinely get ahead in life aren't reckless or irresponsible, they're simply playing offense early, while defense still feels like a sufficient strategy. They're seizing opportunities, taking calculated risks, and positioning themselves for long-term success. And these are precisely the kinds of nuanced insights that we delve into in greater depth inside the WealthifyXxx app. Through our daily coaching sessions and curated expert collections, you're receiving the same level of personalized guidance as a high-end millionaire mentorship, all for less than $200 a year. And if you download it today at WealthifyXxx.com/app and scan the QR code on screen, you'll secure an exclusive 25% off your annual subscription, which, by the way, is a tax-deductible expense. I'll see you on the inside, ready to level up your financial game. In the meantime, let's move on to habit number 4, waiting for absolute certainty. Waiting feels undeniably responsible, doesn't it? You avoid rushing into decisions, you resist the urge to guess or speculate, you demand absolute clarity before committing to any course of action. And on the surface, that sounds like the very definition of wisdom and prudence. But in dynamic systems that operate on the principle of compounding, where time is of the essence and early action is often rewarded, waiting for absolute certainty is one of the most financially damaging habits you can possibly cultivate. The system doesn't generously reward those who are eventually proven right, who finally come around to a winning strategy after everyone else has already profited. It lavishly rewards those who are early enough to the party, who recognize potential before it becomes mainstream, who are willing to take calculated risks when others are still paralyzed by fear and doubt. Every major advantage, every lucrative opportunity, is inherently priced for uncertainty. By the time something feels universally safe, when all the risks have been seemingly mitigated and the path to success is crystal clear, the lion's share of the upside has already been captured by those who are willing to venture into the unknown. You see this dynamic play out everywhere you look. In the housing market, in the stock market, in career choices, in access to credit and capital. When the path is unclear, when the future is shrouded in uncertainty, prices are low and access is open to those with vision and courage. When the path is obvious, when the outcome is virtually guaranteed, prices are high and entry is restricted, effectively locking out those who hesitated. That's the certainty trap. The seductive illusion that safety and security are always the best course of action. People don't typically miss out on significant opportunities because they're inherently wrong or incapable. They miss them because they waited for permission to feel confident, for external validation that the risk was worth taking. And just like the insidious erosion of inflation or the crippling weight of unproductive debt, this penalty for waiting compounds quietly, almost imperceptibly, over time. At first, you're only slightly late to the game, missing out on a small slice of the potential upside. Then, as prices escalate and opportunities become scarcer, you're effectively priced out of the market, unable to afford the initial investment. Finally, you're completely locked out, relegated to the sidelines as others reap the rewards of their early action. This is when people utter the familiar refrain, "Would have done it. But now it's just too expensive. I missed my chance." They attribute their misfortune to bad luck or circumstance. But the uncomfortable truth is that they were simply late to the party, victims of their own paralyzing desire for certainty. The uncomfortable truth is this: Certainty is often what things look like after the advantage has already been extracted, after the early adopters have reaped the rewards and the opportunity has become saturated. Habit number 5, treating income as the ultimate end goal. Now, it's been said, with a touch of cynical humor, that a predictable monthly paycheck is one of the 3 most harmful addictions plaguing modern society. I'm curious to see if you know what the other 2 are. Drop your guesses in the comments below. The reason a steady paycheck can feel so powerfully addictive is because it provides a sense of immediate gratification and effectively reduces short-term financial anxiety. It's a readily available pain reliever, but one that ultimately fosters dependency and limits your long-term potential. You know, with a comforting degree of certainty, that the paycheck will arrive like clockwork. You know that it will alleviate some of the immediate financial pressures weighing you down. And it subtly encourages you to keep chasing that familiar sense of relief. Now, let's be clear, receiving a regular monthly income is not inherently detrimental. Obviously, we all need money to survive and thrive. But it can profoundly affect how you approach financial decision-making and shape your overall perspective on wealth creation. A paycheck feels liberating, like a symbol of financial freedom, until it insidiously becomes the very thing you can't afford to lose. That's the point at which you start making decisions primarily based on fear. Will this action jeopardize my paycheck? Is this venture too risky? What if I lose my precious stability? But here's the fundamental truth: income, particularly in the form of a traditional salary, has an inherent ceiling. A limited potential for exponential growth. More importantly, it's linear in nature. Wages typically rise slowly, if at all, often failing to keep pace with inflation and the rising cost of living. You're unlikely to experience a dramatic tenfold increase in your income anytime soon while relying solely on a paycheck, if ever. You're probably earning significantly more than your parents did at your age, adjusted for inflation. But are you genuinely living a dramatically better life? Technology and access to information aside, that's probably not the case for most people. This is because the system, as it's currently structured, doesn't primarily reward people for how much they earn in a given month, but for how much they own over the long term. Assets compound, steadily increasing in value and generating passive income, while income resets every month, requiring you to continually exert effort to maintain your financial standing. Habit number 6, relentlessly chasing discounts instead of focusing on increasing your overall buying power. Now, securing a discount on a purchase is generally considered a smart financial move, right? Why wouldn't you want to pay less for something you were already planning to buy? The problem arises when this habit becomes an obsession, transforming into your primary strategy for managing your finances and dictating your purchasing decisions. You become so fixated on saving a few dollars here and there that you lose sight of the bigger picture and neglect the more impactful strategies for building true wealth. Let's be brutally honest, you don't amass wealth by becoming the world's greatest coupon hunter. You build wealth by significantly raising the value of an hour of your time, by increasing your earning potential and leveraging your skills to generate higher returns. Which do you think is fundamentally easier and more impactful? Painstakingly saving an extra $10,000 over the course of a year by clipping coupons and obsessively searching for discounts, or strategically making an extra $10,000 in the same time frame by investing in your skills, launching a side hustle, or negotiating a raise. Once you take a step back and objectively assess the situation, the answer becomes glaringly obvious. You can only cut expenses so much before you reach the bare minimum, the point where further frugality starts to negatively impact your quality of life. If you consistently spend 45 minutes meticulously researching the absolute cheapest option for every purchase, then dedicate another 30 minutes driving to a more distant store to save a few bucks, followed by an additional 20 minutes comparing various deals and offers, you can easily waste 2 hours of your valuable time just to save a paltry $15. That's not being financially savvy, that's being trapped in low-leverage thinking. What you're really doing is trading the most valuable asset you possess, your limited and irreplaceable time, for the smallest possible return. And habit number 7. Habitually taking financial advice from people who aren't actively playing the same game you are, who haven't achieved the level of financial success you aspire to reach. Now, people who genuinely care about you, your friends, your family, inherently want you to be safe, secure, and protected from harm. Of course they do. But it's crucial to understand that advice is always subtly, and often unconsciously, shaped by the game the advisor is currently playing, by their own personal experiences, biases, and limitations. Someone who has primarily optimized their life for security and stability will invariably warn you about the dangers of risk and volatility. Someone who has never ventured into the realm of asset ownership will likely caution you against the perils of leverage and debt. Someone who instinctively avoids uncertainty will strongly advise you against moving early and seizing opportunities before they become mainstream. Here's the simplest example to illustrate this point. Tell the average person, perhaps a well-meaning friend or relative, that you're seriously considering starting your own business, leaving the relative safety of your current employment. The most likely response? That's incredibly risky. What about your steady job? At least you have stability and a reliable income stream. Now, is that genuinely sound business advice? Or is it simply employee advice, reflecting the risk-averse perspective of someone who prioritizes job security above all else? Most people around you, even those with the best intentions, only truly understand the risks that they themselves have personally experienced. If they've personally experienced the pain of job loss, the stress of mounting bills, the crushing weight of debt, or the pervasive fear of a recession, then their brains are naturally wired to protect you from those same perceived threats. Conversely, if they've never personally experienced the transformative power of leverage, the exponential growth of compounding, the potential of business equity, or the liberating freedom of asset-based liquidity, they may not even perceive those outcomes as realistic or attainable options. When someone can't vividly imagine a viable path to a particular outcome, they often subconsciously assume that the path simply doesn't exist, dismissing the possibility as unrealistic or even delusional. Just keep that crucial point in mind as you navigate the complex world of financial advice. And as a sincere thank you for sticking with us until the end, I want to share a bonus habit, one that's surprisingly prevalent and subtly undermines the financial progress of even the most diligent individuals. Habit number 8. Impulsively upgrading your lifestyle every time your income experiences a modest increase. Now, this is arguably one of the most insidious and dangerous financial habits. Precisely because it feels so rewarding and indicative of success. You receive a well-deserved raise at work, and you immediately upgrade your apartment to a more spacious and luxurious dwelling. You finally trade in your reliable but aging car for a newer, flashier model. You upgrade your overall spending habits, indulging in more frequent dining out, more extravagant vacations, and more impulse purchases. And nothing about it feels inherently irresponsible, because you're not technically overspending. You're simply living a slightly better life, enjoying the fruits of your labor. But here's the subtle trap: every time you significantly upgrade your lifestyle, you inevitably raise the minimum amount of money you require just to maintain your current level of perceived happiness and contentment. You're not simply increasing your discretionary spending. You're subtly increasing your required income. We adapt with remarkable speed, both to positive and negative changes. The first month in a nicer, more spacious apartment feels absolutely amazing. A testament to your hard work and achievement. But just a few months later, it simply feels normal. It's become the new baseline, the new standard. And now that normal comes with a significantly higher monthly cost, placing a greater burden on your financial resources. Now you need your job not primarily to build wealth and achieve financial freedom, but to simply maintain your current baseline, to avoid slipping back into your previous lifestyle. That's the precise point at which a salary, once a symbol of opportunity, subtly transforms into a trap, restricting your options and limiting your freedom. You can't easily quit your job, even if you're deeply unhappy, because you're too reliant on that steady income stream. You can't easily experiment with new ventures or pursue your passions, because the financial risk feels too daunting. You can't readily take a lower-paying opportunity, even one with significantly higher long-term upside, because you can't afford the immediate pay cut. You can't comfortably survive a bad month or an unexpected expense without experiencing significant stress and anxiety. So, here's a powerful strategy to combat this insidious habit. Every time your income increases, consciously resist the urge to upgrade your lifestyle for at least 12 months. Commit to maintaining your current standard of living for 1 full year, even though you now have more disposable income. That single year of resisting lifestyle creep creates a powerful financial shock, a significant surge in your savings and investment potential. That's when your emergency fund finally becomes truly substantial, providing a genuine safety net. Assets start accumulating and compounding at an accelerated rate. And optionality. The ability to make choices based on your desires rather than your financial constraints, finally begins to emerge. And that's the real goal, the ultimate measure of financial success. Not simply feeling rich or displaying outward signs of wealth, but being financially resilient, adaptable, and difficult to kill financially. Capable of weathering any storm and seizing any opportunity that comes your way. Thanks for watching, fellow WealthifyXxers. We're thrilled to have you with us on this journey to financial empowerment. We'll eagerly await your return for our next insightful video. Until then, take care, stay informed, and keep building your wealth.